Thomas Galicia, joined as always by my co-host, Chris Cochran. And, well, today we've received a lot of stunning Dolphins news that really should not be all that stunning.
I feel like it's just basically what it is with what Dolphin offseason is. It just gives me more of an excuse to just tune out everything. A lot of this stuff is happening like clockwork, in terms of how the season ended, and then like how like a drama appears. Whether it's online with around the team, drama some sort of appears. And I don't know if that's attributed to our I guess the people who cover the team, or if it's the team itself. Obviously, what news has been happening lately? I'll let you answer. I'll let you tell everyone.
Well, let's first start with the most recent bit of news, and this actually broke about a half hour before we recorded this. And that is that Joe Philbin has been signed to a contract extension.
Yeah, is it really a contract extension, or is it just a money extension?
No, I think it's more of a money extension. For one thing, the terms have not been announced.
It's just premature. It's obviously, to me, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't faze me. It doesn't even bother me. And I think with this right here, a lot of people basically from what I've read on Twitter is there's the understanding that this doesn't mean anything. That if the Dolphins are in the playoffs, okay, that's a good thing, depending on how you feel about Philbin, whatever. But the team's in the playoffs, Philbin's coming back. If they don't make the playoffs, this sets up for what else just happened as of yesterday.
And that is the fact that the Dolphins have named Mike Tannenbaum to a position as head of football operations for the Dolphins in a deal that went from being controversial to not very controversial when it comes to the Rooney Rule. Did you see any of that mess today? Which
I caught it, but then I read it again, and it's basically what we thought was happening isn't happening. In terms of Hickey has control over the 53 roster, the 53-man roster, and he's in charge of picking players. That's about it. What Tannenbaum essentially is he's just a guy there just to like let Philbin know what the hell's going on in Davie. So Ross doesn't have to stay there. Meanwhile, Philbin has to report to Ross, whatever. I think that literally is just similar to what's happening in Atlanta right now, in terms of how their front office is set up now. But it's all this stuff is just noise to me. It doesn't really bother me, mainly because I believe that this does not correlate to how they play on the field, as many people think it does, or it matches. You know what I'm trying to say?
It really, really, really doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in the field. Here's the thing: they see Tannenbaum, and they think. Well, here's what people think when they see Mike Tannenbaum. Oh, Mark Sanchez extension. Traded for Tebow. Mind you, those were both deals that Tannenbaum's boss told him to make with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see with Tannenbaum, a guy who, was able to build a talented enough team to go to 2 consecutive AFC title games.
Yeah, and
no one says anything about that. I see a guy that drafted Darrelle Revis. No one's saying anything about that.
Yeah, and it's just, listen, if he's not picking players, I really don't care. I just think, like I said, like getting back to the original when we first started the show this is just basically another time to pile on the Dolphins for not making the playoffs. It happened last year. Armando kind of did the same thing last year with Philbin, Ireland, and Aponte and their little love triangle. You remember it. He was constantly throwing flamethrowers to the organization. He kind of did that today, without basically he did the same exact thing yesterday and today until more news came out that the Dolphins did not violate the Rooney Rule. But it's clockwork on what's happening. So it's just part of I just think it's more majority of people just are using it to pile on the Dolphins for not making the playoffs. I think that's what it deep down rooted, because I tweeted earlier, there's a lot of front offices in the NFL that are completely messed up, that have done so many bad things that you would think that, like, if you were to take, for example, if you were going to take what Jim Irsay did with the Colts and apply that to what Stephen Ross, like, I guess put what Stephen Ross did as if he was Jim Irsay, it would be nuclear. But you know what? The Colts are in the playoffs, and it doesn't really matter anymore until the offseason against.
No, exactly. Well, I honestly think that a lot of Dolphins reporters, they just like reporting on the drama.
I mean, what are you going to report on now? Senior Bowl's around the corner. Free agency hasn't started. You know, and I mean, what else are you going to report on? I mean, you're not going to sit here and send your writers from the Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel to go to New England, or to go to Denver.
No, exactly. Exactly. You know, at least at Bleacher Report, we're trying to stay away from the drama. We're doing dry football articles. I've done 2 articles already on the Dolphins salary cap situation, which is important. Which, you know,
I think it's important, but
that does correlate to what goes on the field.
It does, and like this goes back to like Tannenbaum. People like to make the complaint about, yeah, he got that Mark Sanchez contract, but I don't.
That his owner told him to sign.
But you have Don Aponte, and as much as you want to say about, okay, Mike Wallace is the highest paid receiver on the team, highest paid receiver in the NFL, they have a safety hatch to get out of that. That's because of Don Aponte. They have another one to get out of Brian Hartline. It's just kind of like been mind-boggling. That I don't know if it's people just don't know football or they just want to react right away.
They just want to react right away, and it's even sad that there are journalists that do that and there are radio hosts that do that. I'm not going to name the radio host that does it. But I can. I'm pretty sure I can leave a big ol' hint as to who does that. And he's been a guest on our show, by the way. Good guy, but he's going on the overreaction train, if you will. He's retweeting all of the Dolphins fans' overreactions, and Salguero, of course, is feeding into it. But a little something interesting about Salguero, who I'm not afraid to say this, is kind of an egotistical pompous weed. This is a story he wrote yesterday, which is possible DC candidates for all to see. He wrote this in his blog yesterday. Mind you, Kevin Coyle still has not been fired. Likely will not be fired. I really don't think Kevin Coyle's getting fired this year.
I don't think anything's happening. I mean, unless he does something like he's not going to get fired. Like, this was basically setting up for. I honestly think it's just reaffirming that next year is literally make or break for the entire Dolphins.
Exactly. You can't really do that when you replace the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. And so it doesn't bother me. Like, I know, like, okay, you're 9-7 this year. There's more concerns I have entering the draft with Hickey and with Philbin than I do towards the end of next season. I mean, we still don't know how Hickey is as a general manager. I mean, we had 1 year with him. 2 guys played well, but in the end they kind of phased out. They didn't phase out, but they kind of dropped off in production. Albert got hurt. He basically signed 4 guys who ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
And my concerns with Philbin is, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure you might agree with this. Basically, I think Hickey knows what he needs in a sense of but this is where it goes back. You know how each general manager has the type of guy they want, or the type of players they want at each position, kind of, just their philosophy. He brought Vincent Jackson in, a big, tall guy. My fear is, with the Dolphins entering this offseason, is they're going to address the need in a sense of a position type. They're going to address the position, but it's not going to be the need the Dolphin fans want accomplished. And what I mean by that is, we want the Dolphins to get a physical guy, a big, tall red zone guy, bigger catch radius. We basically just want a freak at wide receiver. What I really think is going to happen with them is they're going to get a guy the size of Landry or Randall Cobb type guy. and not what we want is going to happen. I mean, Philbin signed Mike Wallace. You know, he brought in Mike Wallace past offseason. You could blame that on Ireland, whatever. You know, but if you look at all their guys, man, they're all a certain stature in terms of physical abilities. They're all 6 foot. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think Dolphins fans are going to be disappointed, and that's what I'm really interested in right there is does Philbin stick to his guns and let you know and pick the players he wants in terms of like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, all right, I want this guy, so go find me this type of guy, rather than just Hickey's like, I'm just bringing in the best guys that are out there. That's my concern.
No, that's a legitimate concern to have. But
He did it with Landry. He did it with Landry.
yes.
And you know, and that's the first. I mean, I guess they're working together, but like I said, like I think they're going to address the need. It's just not going to be the need that we want. And you know, and my other concern is if we get the guy, say we get a guy, I think Tannehill's the quarterback right now to, in a sense, he likes to just hit the open man. So, you know, I don't think necessarily, you know, going out there and getting a big guy, I don't know how much is going to make a difference. If this guy could already throw for 27 touchdowns and 12 interceptions and pass for 65%, how much is that going to help if you get a bigger guy out there? Like,
Especially when you consider that with Tannehill, you know, a lot of the reason why he didn't have 30 touchdowns is because his accuracy wasn't so great to start the year. Remember, he started off the season slowly.
Yeah, he was the guy that was consistently inconsistent, and that went along with the team. And so I don't, I don't know. I'd rather honestly, I mean, give me playmakers all over the place, but see, I'd rather them go after a running back, a freak out running back, because versus a wide receiver who you have 4 guys he has to go through. You know, whether
I'll ask you what running back you want in a little bit, but as you were saying.
Yeah, it's just Tannehill's the type of guy from what we've seen after 3 years, man. So just he doesn't, he's not going to sit here and just have a guy carry an offense. He's going to be the guy to carry an offense, whether it's just dispersing the ball all over the place, whether it's a Charles Clay wide open for a 40-yard catch or Landry underneath the middle. Like, he hits the open guy. He doesn't pick on, he had his safety blanket a year ago with Hartline, but that completely changed this year. And so that's what I ultimately think is going to happen. I think Dolphins fans are going to be disappointed in how the team is constructed this offseason.
They could very well be. Really, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of the size, if the guy that they pick up is a talent, he's a talent.
Yeah, I mean that's in theory. But there's certain guys I believe that you could have that aren't going to be good enough to carry an offense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could put, like, for Mike Wallace as an example, you put Mike Wallace with, Big Ben, for example, or another really good quarterback. He puts up, 1,200 yards. You put him with Ryan Tannehill, he's a completely different player. Almost isn't as effective. And that's the type of, that's what I think is the offense is. Tannehill isn't good enough to carry, to make the offense to what it could be with the weapons that are given. He just hits the open man.
Yeah, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but he does have to work on. He still has lots to work on, but I do see Tannehill working on a lot of that in the offseason. And part of what will help him out with that is keeping stability at head coach, keeping stability at offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean what good was it going to do if you have Laser in this year and then fire him this offseason?
It wasn't going to do him any good.
There was no good, because you don't want to get stuck with the Sam Bradford route where you're in the league 6 years and you have 4 coordinators.
Alex Smith went through that the worst.
That was another example. I mean, so, that's what you don't want to, you don't want to have that excuse with your quarterback.
Yeah, you want to know what he has, and you want to know if he can. You want to know what he has, and you want to know if he can deliver. And this is the year for him to do it now. I know everyone said that about 2014. But
shit happens. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I just called Armando Salguero a dillweed, and this is why I called him a dillweed. So here's his little thing about the defensive coordinators. When again, the Dolphins are not looking for a defensive coordinator; they have one, and I don't think they're going to get rid of him. Kevin Coyle is apparently still the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins this morning, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
know if he is only a temporary stay before he's fired, or if Coyle is in fact safe for 2015.
I think it goes back. I think they're all gone if anything happens.
Well, no,
If they digress, I think they're all gone.
well, he means yeah, but Salguero's talking about if Coyle's leaving now, which no, he's not.
He's not. He would have been. I mean, unless they get some linebacker coach, some defensive player, some defensive coach from one of these playoff teams.
Yeah, even that. They're leaving to they're leaving to be the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins. No, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the part that really actually kind of chafed me. Why don't we know? Only Joe Philbin knows, and he has not been ringing my celly with the answer. Now here's where it gets interesting, and now here's where I think a lot of Armando's little muckraking comes into play.
Uh-huh.
True story. Philbin does not call any media member. He also doesn't return emails. He once explained to me that his job and family take up practically all of his professional and personal time. So he doesn't have time to form a relationship with a member of the media outside his normal and customary press conferences. Hey, I can respect that approach, although I think it's unwise. The coach is free to set priorities as he wishes, but I would counter as an ally in the independent media never hurt anyone, and Philbin has none. What?
Uh, I get what he's saying. From his side is what I believe is he wants to have a source in this. That's obviously if you could talk with Philbin as your is Phil if for example if you're Philbin's ally, that's your source.
Yes.
Uh,
Like
you know, say-
Ireland was, had reportedly been his source in the past.
it was obvious last offseason.
Yeah, very obvious.
And from Philbin's point is I don't think Philbin cares. I really don't. I just and he I congratulate him on that and just not caring. Because ultimately none of this stuff matters. Like none of it matters.
It's white noise.
It's just noise. And so it's none of this stuff matters to like, it should. I mean, it's just to carry us to the Senior Bowl. Which is that whole process last year is really funny in itself because all the guys the Dolphin fans wanted, are no longer employed. Whether it's Tom Gamble, there was another guy who was not employed as well right now. Ray Farmer's employed, but he stinks. Like he's not good at his job.
No.
And so that it's just funny, like it's just interchangeable crap with the same attitude. And I don't want to sound like a homer. This is just what my opinion is.
No, it's the absolute truth. Now, do you want to know who's on his list, by the way?
Who?
All right. Here's some names: Eric Mangini, Ed Donatel,
Who?
former Atlanta, Green Bay, and Washington. No, that's not Washington. That's just defensive coordinator, DC for defensive coordinator. Currently with the 49ers. Jim Leavitt was also with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
You might remember him. Didn't he get fired from the University of South Florida for being abusive towards his players or something like that?
I always find the coaching carousel really, really funny.
Yeah. Mike Drovic from a Green Bay assistant. Winston Moss, Steve Spagnuolo, Gary Gibbs, Emmett Thomas, Jim Schwartz, Gunther Cunningham, Mike Smith, and of course there's your Mike Nolan.
Mm-hmm. And where can we find this?
This is at Herald.com.
Okay.
This is at it's MiamiHerald.typepad.com. Dolphins in depth. This is his little thing. Keep in mind this is the question nobody's asking because just about everyone has pretty much resigned themselves to the fact that Kevin Coyle will be back next season.
Mm-hmm.
Still, the list itself not quite as amusing as the whole, oh, Philbin, it would help him if he had a friend in the media. Like, get out of there. The media, look, as someone who works in the media, I can tell you this: media is not your friend.
Yeah, and I mean I work in it too. It's obviously you could tell right now.
It's not your friend.
And so it's just semantics right now, man. It's just stuff to talk about. When your team isn't in the playoffs and you're not firing anybody, and and you want continuity in your organization. They finally get a vice president, or I guess a football czar, and since they don't like him, it's piling on them. But like, how would you feel if it was Carl Peterson?
Difference does it make?
Yeah, I mean and so it doesn't, none of this stuff doesn't bother me. Like it's whatever, man. Like, yo, all I really care about is if Hickey could draft guys and sign players, and if they turn out a 10-6 season next year, and Tannehill just keeps getting better. That's honestly all I really care about. This stuff right here, uh, you know, it doesn't really bother me. And plus, we'll never know the real thing unless stuff gets leaked out by a source. But
Yeah,
right now.
but apparently no one has. Apparently nobody has a source in the Dolphins, or at least Mondo doesn't. So you're not gonna hear anything from him.
Yeah, I mean, we had the Michael. I mean, it's just the Dolphins ended the season losing to the Jets. We had the whole Mike Wallace debacle, which I was there, and it was really funny. Seeing
Okay,
it.
you're gonna have to describe what it's like to see it, because you described it to me a few hours after the game.
Yeah, going back to that, like I was obviously, I don't know if people saw the picture on Twitter, but that was my picture. Like I haven't seen actually any other picture except mine. Uh,
No, it
and
has only been your picture.
and so I see this, and as I'm in there, I see we all go straight to the locker. We all go straight to Mike Wallace's locker. Hartline's looking at him, kind of like looking at what's going on, or what are you gonna do, or not now. Landry's doing the same thing. He's sitting down. There's another wide receiver. I don't know who he was. He looked young, and he's looking. And then next thing you know, Gibson kind of like runs over because they're like next to each other in lockers. He runs over, puts his arm in him, and is just like answering these questions. We kind of didn't know what to do at first, and then you realize, all right, just ask questions and someone's going to answer it. And it happened to be Gibson. And then, yeah, man, that's what happened. It was kind of like a thing you'd see in a movie. Obviously it's a diva wide receiver, who is, whether you want to say he didn't want to play anymore, or he got benched, or it was a coach's decision, or whatever. Like, it was insane to see, and it was funny at the same time. But I feel bad for Wallace. I feel bad for Mike Wallace, mainly in the sense that this guy's a proven NFL player. He's not some guy, who's a bum. Like he's not Brandon Gibson. Like he has an actual skill set that's probably one of the best in the league, and it's not even being utilized. And I don't care how much he gets paid. It's one of those things where like you want to use that. You want to if you got a fast car, you want to drive it fast. You don't want to sit here and drive through a school zone.
Exactly.
And so it's whether you want to say it's a bad signing because he can't be used the right way on his end. Like I think this is one of those things where Dolphins, if they were to part ways, whether it's through cutting, which we don't know if that's going to happen this offseason, it'll benefit both people.
Yeah, it would be. It would be good for a change of scenery for both sides. However, if they do release him, it would have to be a post-June first cut, because then that would save the Dolphins $6.9 million on the salary cap. And right now, looking at it, the Dolphins, when you factor in the carryover cap room, the Dolphins only have $2 million in cap room.
Oh, this offseason is gonna be busy. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because you might see the gambles that we saw with Ireland, just with Hickey. You might see that again because, unless there's just something we don't know about. But you might, because when Ireland got that, when Ireland had that 1 year left, he signed Wallace, Ellerby, Wheeler. He went nuts. The first day it was insane. Obviously he lost his job. They finished 8-8. And now, you might see that same thing this year. You hope not. You just hope they kind of stick to the course, but you might see these gambles again.
Well, really, at least I don't think you're going to see that gamble at wide receiver because
No, you might see other gambles.
Yeah, you'll definitely see other gambles. Um, so, but not a wide receiver. I'm saying because Des Bryant's the only free agent wide receiver worth anything, and
Or Demaryius Thomas. Oh yeah, unless like they just let him go in Miami, and then it's just a feeding frenzy.
Yeah. And then I'm more interested in who's going to get cut, and I have to ask you, out of all the Dolphins, pick three that are definitely going to get cut.
Gibson.
Yes.
I think Brandon Gibson. I would say Finnegan as well.
Yes.
And then possibly Hartline. If those were my three. You could make the case for Ellerby or Wheeler. But I definitely think it's Hartline, Gibson, and possibly is Rashard Matthews a free agent at the end of this year?
No, he's not. He would have to be released if they're going to let him go.
Yeah, so I mean, going into the season, you're possibly going to have 2 wide receivers on the roster, along with a quarterback who's going to be entering his last year, unless they pick up that 5th-year option, a tight end that's a free agent. So you have 2 wide receivers, a running back, your quarterback, your center, your left tackle, your right tackle, and you got to fill the 2 guard spots. That is what the Dolphins' offense has ahead of this offseason, as well as the defense, where you got to still fill a safety, probably cornerback. You got to get rid of Jimmy Wilson and his body. However you do it, I don't care. Randy Starks is another one. There's gonna be a lot of cuts this year, man.
There will be blood.
Oh yeah, and it's who do you think is gonna be the 3? It's definitely got. I mean, on defense.
If I were to, there's definitely going to be more than 3, but I would say the for sure ready to go, Danielle Ellerby.
Mm-hmm.
He's as good as gone. Cortland Finnegan, as good as gone, and Brandon Gibson.
As good as gone, like just.
Yeah, no, they're done. As for Wallace or Hartline, I really think they're going to keep one of them. They're going to keep one of the 2 for no other reason than the fact that you want to have at least some continuity with Ryan Tannehill.
You don't want to have that his wide receivers need to get on the same page. Crap.
Yeah. Why are you going to waste your time with that when you'd rather go for even though it's going to cost some money. Although I do think if they wind up keeping Hartline, they'll definitely restructure the deal.
Or they'll cut him.
Well, I'm saying, well, that's why I said if they keep him.
Yeah, like if there's definitely gonna be some restructuring.
I also think by the way, I also think Mike Pouncey signing an extension because this is the final year of his contract, and he counts against the cap for $7.5 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting an extension. If for no other reason than just to clear cap space, he's getting an extension. You'll be able to save about $2 million for this season by giving Pouncey an extension. And I do see Cameron Wake getting his deal restructured, where he'll get 2 more years added to the current deal he has that expires at the end of the 2016 season.
He's interesting, man, because he dropped off this year, as well as the defense itself. And it's how would you feel if they cut him?
I'd be very shocked if they cut him, especially since he's a pass rusher. Teams could always use pass rushers, and
I mean, he's not getting cut, but he's not.
Well, where I'm going with is this: if you're going to cut him, you might as well try to trade him.
Yeah.
Anyone who you want to, there are some players who do have trade value, and not only is Cameron Wake one of them, but Mike Wallace is another one of them too. The Dolphins would save about $5.9 million if they found someone to take him off their hands for a draft pick instead of just letting him go.
I would just call up Oakland. I would just call up the Raiders.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I would call up the Raiders and just listen. You got young Derek Carr. All right. You got all this cap room. What do you want? Just give us a third rounder and we'll be done with this. Give us a third and and call it a day.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, now this is having me wish that Al Davis was still alive.
Oh,
Because
I
then,
still think it happened. I still think they signed. They got Maurice Jones-Drew and Derek McFadden, like two of the oldest running backs ever who were injury prone, and you're gonna go in there as you're gonna go into this this past season with those guys. They're stupid.
well, they're gonna have a new GM. They're gonna have a new head coach.
Clean house. They're cleaning house too. There's so many. This coaching circus this year is it's interesting. Because you have at least one team, right? One team, or no. I would say in the AFC you have four conferences. You have about one team in each conference.
In each division.
In each division.
You got the Jets.
Bills.
That's just weird though.
Which I think there was I think there was some backdoor negotiating going on with that whole thing. Ironically, Rex Ryan gets fired, and then out of nowhere, Marone opts out, and he's the guy the Jets want. Like he's the guy. And so there you go. Like they're hired, and then obviously you have the Raiders, and then you have those. I would say those are the only ones. Because no one else got fired in actually North. So I'm wrong.
You're wrong. Who else got fired?
That's it. It's the Raiders, the Bills, and the Jets.
Yeah. The NFC. Well, the NFC has the team with the best gig available. I would say that's the Falcons.
Or the Niners.
I would take the Falcons gig over the Niners, if for no other reason the fact that I do have more faith in Matt Ryan than I do Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, and you have one of the best wide receivers in the game on your team as well in offense, and he's got to build up the defense.
But the 49ers do have the better defense, and they're not too shabby on offense either.
Yeah, they're not. It's really funny when I saw Mike Shanahan was like the favorite on Sunday to land the coach with the Niners. I kind of giggled inside because he broke RG3, like he broke him. And Kyle Shanahan was the coordinator as well, and I think he is in. He's in Cleveland. Yeah, yes. So that I found funny because if I'm gonna I could play the whole coaching angle. He's the kind of the guy you want in San Francisco with RG3. With Kaepernick. Obviously, you got to bring in more wide receivers because you're probably not going to keep Crabtree. And he got a good defense. So, that guy won with Alfred Morris as his running back.
Yes.
And the old joke was whoever Shanahan has, he's gonna make 1,000 yard. He's gonna make 1,000-yard running back. And then obviously you have the Falcons where you have they just restructured their front office, right? They have Pioli in there now.
Yeah, they have Scott Pioli who reports to
Dimitroff.
Yeah, who reports to Dimitroff, but not a single Falcons fan is complaining about it.
And then you have the head coach, whoever that is. There is no head coach. Is going to report to Arthur Blank. It's basically confusing. Again, what I would find really funny with that whole thing is that they hired Josh McDaniels.
That would be funny.
Because he basically killed Denver, and now he went to San Francisco. He went to St. Louis right after Denver, and then he went to New England.
And he was worse in St. Louis.
Yeah, he went to St. Louis. Yeah, he went to St. Louis, and then he went to New England when what's the dude Bill O'Brien when he went to Penn State.
Yes.
And so I find it funny, man. Like it's gonna be funny, what this offseason turns out. On top of what Buffalo is gonna do.
Well, what Buffalo is gonna do is gonna be very interesting to me because, that's just a team that seems like all right. They finished the season 9-7, correct?
Yeah. One of the best defenses in the league, by the way.
Yes, one of the best defenses in the league. However, no quarterback, no first-round pick. Granted, It's not like the first-round pick that they would have wound up with would have been able to get them a quarterback, but still, Did
you hear that Doug Marrone walked out of the meeting when they traded up for Watkins?
Yeah, I heard something about that.
I think that is amazing. You have a coach who's basically like, all right, You're trading up. We don't have a quarterback. We have EJ Manuel, and you're trading up for a wide receiver. You're trading up this upcoming year's first round pick, 2015's pick. You're not, and I have an out in my contract that allows me to leave if ownership is changed. Like that was the like kind of like the loophole in his contract, correct?
Yes.
And all right, I'm out. I'm
And
leaving.
he's still getting paid. He's still getting paid. He's gonna double dip.
These coaches, man, like whoever these agents are for these coaches, they know how to work some business.
I'm hiring them because geniuses, I tell you.
You had Parcells with it. If you change ownership, I just basically get all my money. Obviously, if Wayne Huizenga does not care, because I mean, does this money transfer over to the new owner?
Yes.
So obviously, you're gonna sign this. You're gonna, all right, sure, no problem. I don't care. It's not my money.
Keep in mind, it only took Huizenga 1 year to sell the team after signing Parcells.
And so, these coaches, it's like what it is with them is they have like this. It's this tight knit fraternity. I think I told you the Polians are gonna get this.
Yeah.
And now I think one of them is being interviewed now. It's this tight knit thing of like who you know, which I don't have a problem with. It's who you know, and that's what the NFL is, man. Why do you think it's all retreads coming in?
But it's like that in every business, and we act like, oh, it's such a horrible thing, and
And so it's really funny what's happening with this offseason is, because it's just retreads, and it's the same offseason every year.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the Dolphins, do you think that what needs to get done this offseason is going to get done?
Well, that depends. If you're talking about what needs to get done in terms of what the fans want to get done, no.
Because they're going to do the same gambles. Because if they cut Cortland Finnegan, they're going to have to bring someone else to replace that.
Yeah.
Same with Delmas.
Yes. I don't think they cut Delmas, so I think they give him another year. However, if you mean by in terms of what needs to get done is in what the team says, what the team feels needs to get done, that will get done. And
of course, they're going to think they did their job, or they're going to or appear. I mean, they're not going to
Thing is, we will not know whether they got done what needs to get done until this time in 2016. That's when we'll know.
Yeah. It's definitely it's a results-oriented business.
Exactly. On this day in 2016, if we are rehashing either a playoff win or a playoff loss, as long as we're rehashing a playoff game, that means they got done what needed to get done.
Or it appears they got it done.
Well, at least for the year, they got done what needed to get done. Mm-hmm. However, if we're having the same exact conversation next year, only difference is instead of Joe Philbin being the head coach, it's a vacancy at head coach. Instead of Dennis Hickey being the general manager, there's a vacancy at general manager. Then no. But we're not going to know after they sign the free agents that they sign. We can take a good guess, but we're not going to know. We're not going to know after day 1 of the draft. We're not going to know after day 2 of the draft. We're not going to know after day 3 of the draft. We're not going to know after the first mini camp. We're not going to know after the first day of training camp. We're not going to know after the first preseason game. We're not going to know after the first game of the season. We're not going to know until week 17.
Mm-hmm. Because say they have the same result this year, this upcoming year as they did this year, the same thing could still happen, where they fade off towards the end.
Yeah.
Or players just don't or they don't get healthy, or they just get hurt. Whether it's an offensive lineman, a running back, a wide receiver, a Tannehill in this case. Whatever happens, there's a lot of things that are going in factor. That's why, that's why I think it's gonna get blown up this year.
No, I believe so too, and it will be for the best, and we'll go over all the retreads that they'll look at.
Unless they want to go for a Malzahn. But, that's obviously, we'll have this conversation January 7th, 2016.
That's when I plan on having this conversation. And with that in mind, I say we give Dolphin Central Radio a little bit of a cooling off until why don't we wait until after the Senior Bowl? Is that good with you?
Yeah. we could easily just, it's not hard to do these these podcasts are not hard at all.
No, they're not.
Uh, and I'm sure we could do one once a month or one or after every single, I guess, significant NFL event.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a schedule where we'll do one after the Senior Bowl, not the Shrine Game because that's no, the Shrine Game is the RC Cola of the
RC Cola
of the postseason All-Star games. Yeah,
where they sell like 4 of them at grocery stores, just 4.
exactly. Yeah. That's the Shrine Game. I don't pay that much attention to that. I mean, it could be worse. It could be this Battle of Florida collegiate All-Star game I went to 3 years ago. They don't do that anymore. They only did that 1 year, but they played it in Boca Raton and actually went to that. And that was...
Wasn't Rusty Smith in that?
Yes.
Don't ask me how I know that. Don't ask me how I know that bowl game. That senior game.
Well, all I remember from that game was the fact that Las Fadas subs provided the catering.
As they should.
In the press box, yeah. Me living in Dade County, it's not like I get Las Fadas every it's not like I get that chance, but when I did, I might have taken 2 or 3 from the press box. Don't tell anyone. But as I was saying, we'll do one after the Senior Bowl, then we'll do one after the Combine, and maybe we'll do like a quickie one if anything really, really big and monumental happens, like the fans getting their wish come true.
Yeah, but yeah, anything that happens with off-season, anything off-season related of significance, we're definitely going to touch up on it and discuss it. Otherwise, honestly, and I'm not going to lie, I really don't want to talk about nonsense every week about the Dolphins because it's dead right now. The season is dead. There's nothing new happening, and so there's I'm not going to sit here and just talk gossip about Dolphins football.
No, yeah, and we could do this radio show on a bunch of different subjects, but it is Dolphin Central Radio, and we don't want to disappoint the fans who come in for Dolphin Central Radio by talking about other things. Although I'm a lot more interesting to talk to about other things.
Yes, that's where I excel as a human being.
Yes, yeah, I'd rather talk about I'd rather talk about First Amendment rights and whatnot, but I don't want to hear Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. So
where can we find you at?
So with that in mind, you can find me at on Twitter at Thomas Galicia, where occasionally I do curse when talking about screwed up people doing screwed up things and how I hate when we blame other things for screwed up people doing screwed up things.
Mm-hmm.
A little tweet that little reference to a tweet that I had, and that's one of the few times that I use the F word, and I use it quite liberally in that case. Normally not as much. You can find me there. Also, you can find me on Bleacher Report, where I will be giving you a list of 20 players for the Dolphins to look at for the draft. I'm probably going to write that article about 5 or 6 times between now and May. But
that's going to be fun. I feel so happy for you, man.
Oh, yeah. But, I'm thinking maybe to do it a little bit differently this time around.
Just don't be that guy that shuffles their board after every hour.
No, I'm not gonna do that. What I'm thinking of is just, I'm gonna actually make a list of 100 players.
Okay.
And then, give you like 20 here, 20 there, have them all complement each other. I think that's really the way to go. However, the mock drafts, I'll go off based off of tape because I do enjoy watching tape, which makes me weird. Now, Chris, where can they find you?
Cochran1043. My Twitter name is Freckleface.
Follow Freckleface.
Freckleface. That is who I am.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks, Dolphin fans. Take care until then.